scan your head like you're a cashier and I'm a bunch of bananas? I'm not bananas, you are.
That's not really funny to people who've lost their kids to this vaccine. How dare you be so flippant, man?
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week.
Sure. Here's a more polished and compelling version of your text, maintaining the dramatic tone while improving clarity and flow. Since our last video on this topic, many of you have been clamoring for a deep dive into the explosive showdown between Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg, and we heard you loud and clear. What might seem like a minor spat is, in reality, a cultural collision of epic proportions. This isn't just a clash between two celebrities. It's a high-stakes battle where free speech goes head-to-head with the heavy hand of woke ideology. It's comedy versus cancel culture, reason versus outrage, and a fight for the soul of a society increasingly walking on eggshells. What we initially uncovered barely scratched the surface of Hollywood's most awkward ideological tug-of-war. But here's the twist. Neither Hollywood nor Whoopi saw Bill Maher's calm yet razor-sharp rebuttal coming.so buckle up. We're about to pull back the curtain and expose the drama, the hypocrisy, and the uncomfortable truth that Tinseltown would rather keep buried. Let's rewind the tape to nearly 3 years ago, when Bill Maher first weighed in on COVID. Let me know if you'd like it adjusted for a different tonal platform, e.g., YouTube narration, article intro, etc.
Everyone knows Corona is no walk in the park, because you literally can't walk in the park. But at some point, the daily drumbeat of depression and terror veers into panic. Enough with the life will never be the same headlines. And stop showing us this. You know, everything looks scary when you magnify it 1,000 times. Here's a pubic hair.
Absolutely. Here's a sharper, cleaner rewrite that preserves the humor and bite of the original while improving flow, grammar, and impact. Bill Maher had officially reached his breaking point with a non-stop media hysteria and apocalyptic predictions surrounding COVID-19. While much of the world was panic-buying toilet paper and proudly flaunting their 37th booster shot, Maher dared to suggest something radical. Simply live your life, that he argued that it was time to adjust, adapt, and, for heaven's sake, move forward, instead of staying trapped in a permanent state of fear. But of course, the woke brigade wasn't having it. To them, Maher's call for resilience and rationality was borderline blasphemy, almost as if advocating common sense had become a hate crime. Apparently, suggesting a middle ground between caution and normalcy was as scandalous as skipping leg day at the gym, and that's when Whoopi Goldberg entered the fray. Let me know if you want to continue this in the same style.
Not really funny to people who've lost their kids to this vaccine, or people who've lost family members or dear friends to this. This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody. Because if you're the one who's not paying attention and you're coughing and sneezing, you don't want to, then stay out of the public, man. This is not, nobody wants this. And I think he's forgetting that people are still at risk who cannot get vaccinated. People who can't get it. Little kids under the age of 5. Yeah. Or people with health conditions. How dare you be—
Of course. Here's a refined and engaging rewrite of your passage, keeping the wit and critical edge intact. That's classic Whoopi, always ready to pounce the moment someone dares to voice an opinion that hasn't been pre-approved by the self-appointed woke authorities. And what with Bill Maher's unforgivable offense? Simply suggesting that maybe, just maybe, it was time to stop chasing the ghost of a new normal and start actually living again. But Whoopi wasn't about to let that slide. She tore into Maher's argument as if he'd suggested swapping yoga for dodgeball at a mindfulness retreat. Her takedown was fierce, dramatic, and, as it turns out, completely miscalculated. Here's a twist. Instead of Whoopi's fiery rebuttal sparking a backlash against Maher, the tables turned. Viewers overwhelmingly sided with Bill's calm. Reason take over Whoopi's unsolicited outrage. He earned a surge of public support, even from an unexpected source. ABC, the very network behind the View at INA move that stunned many. The network benched Whoopi with a brief suspension, sending her to the TV equivalent of the timeout corner. The message? Even Hollywood has its limits when it comes to unchecked ideological theatrics. Fans called it karma. Maher, true to form, had his own response, sharp, composed, and unmistakably smug. Because if there's one thing Bill Maher loves more than being right, it's making absolutely sure everyone knows he was right all along. Let me know if you'd like to continue the narrative or adjust the time.
Saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma. Sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Certainly. Here's a refined and vivid rewrite of your passage, enhancing the metaphor, tightening the language, and keeping the dramatic flair. In this dramatic face-off, Bill Maher stood tall as a regal lion, composed, cunning, and unshaken, while Whoopi Goldberg played a role of the overconfident big game hunter, storming onto the savannah with nothing but a Nerf gun, determined to bring him down. Armed with woke outrage and a heavy dose of moral superiority, Whoopi launched her attack. But Maher, ever the experienced and elusive predator, flipped the script with ease. In a stunning reversal, it was Whoopi who found herself ensnared, caught in the tangled web of her own contradictions. The IT was a classic tale of the cancel crusaders, always prowling, always on the hunt, quick to pounce on anyone who dares step out of ideological line, only to stumble over their own missteps. Like amateur magicians pulling controversy from thin air, they're often shocked when the trick backfires. But Maher didn't just survive, he thrived. Public support rallied behind his reasoned stance, while Whoopi was left with a bruised ego and a brief suspension to contemplate her failed ambush. Sometimes, the hunter becomes a hunted. And who doesn't enjoy a good twist ending? Maybe next time, Whoopi will think twice before trying to rewrite history live on television, or maybe she won't. But here's a truly unexpected part. Despite having every opportunity to humiliate his opponent, Maher chose a different path. Instead of gloating or going for the knockout, he extended an olive branch. Staying true to his principles, he defended free speech, even for those he disagrees with, insisting that no one should be punished simply for speaking their mind, no matter how wrong they may be. Let me know if you'd like this adapted into a video script or article format.
Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend, we can disagree with each other, should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement. Free speech. She should be there. She shouldn't get a timeout.
Absolutely. Here's a refined and punchy rewrite of your passage, keeping the tone bold and satirical while improving clarity, structure, and style. Maher, ever the quintessential gentleman, stood firm in his principles like a seasoned pro. Even when it came to Whoopi, he refused to kick her while she was down, proving once again that his sharp wit is matched by an uncommon grace. Classy, measured, and grounded in conviction, Maher reminded everyone that standing for free speech doesn't mean abandoning basic decency. Now, just imagine if the roles were reversed. What if Maher had been the one in the hot seat? Do you think the woke mob would have shown the same restraint? Please, they'd have pounced faster than a vegan spotting the last kale salad at a buffet. This is the same crowd that constantly preaches compassion, redemption, and second chances until those ideals become inconvenient. Then, suddenly, it's torches and pitchforks. The chant of tolerance is replaced with calls for cancellation before Maher could even finish saying the words free speech. Woke culture loves to stand on its moral high ground, but only until the terrain gets rough. Then, like toddlers caught losing a game, they just rewrite the rules mid-play to ensure win. Principles? Consistency? Not exactly part of their playbook. To try and take Maher down. This ideological playgroup lured him into their den. And once inside, they unleashed every trick in the book, misquotes, distortion, and out-of-context sound bites, all in a desperate attempt to corner him and score a manufactured victory. Let me know if you'd like to continue or build this out into a full script or article.
Well, I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Absolutely. Here's a sharpened, professional rewrite that preserves a punch, drama, and satire of your original while improving clarity and flow. Chances are you've seen the clip by now, probably more than once. So we won't waste your time with a full replay. But here's what you should pay attention to. The woke mob rarely attacks alone. They strike in packs, like a pride of lions, always prowling for their next target. You might spot one in the open, But trust me, the others are lurking in the shadows, sharpening their claws. Take, for example, Bill Maher's recent appearance on The View. On the surface, it looked like a standard interview to promote his new book. But beneath the polite smiles and rehearsed questions, it was clear this was a setup. The hosts weren't there to discuss his work. They were there to settle scores with a man who dared to challenge their sacred narratives. But they underestimated Maher. He's not just a comedian, he's a strategist. He saw the ambush coming a mile away and navigated it with such precision and poise. He made the hosts look like house cats trying to snare a lion. Maher looked them straight in the eye and, without flinching, explained exactly why he refuses to fall in line with the woke mob. The moment was so raw, so brutally honest, you could almost hear the audience gasp, though he didn't tiptoe around the topic. He didn't water down his message. Instead, he confronted the performative outrage, the endless virtue signaling, and the hypocrisy that defined today's so-called progressive discourse. It's not progress is against, it's the twisted version of it, where moving forward now means silencing dissent and punishing anyone who dares to think differently. The hosts were left speechless, not because it was silence, but because Maher had calmly and methodically dismantled their entire narrative. No yelling, no grandstanding, just unflinching truth, served with a side of wit. When they realized they couldn't corner the sly old fox, they had no choice but to let him walk away unscathed. But of course, Whoopi Goldberg wasn't done. She was ready to return, this time determined to take her pound of flesh. Let me know if you like this adaptive narration, social media, or longer editorial form.
Should be against the law. You should not be able to lie to the American knowingly. What do we do as Americans to say this is not okay?
You'd have to say the First Amendment.
Yeah.
I think you, well, no,
Well,
but
the First Amendment doesn't allow you to...
Certainly, here's a polished and powerful rewrite that keeps your tone sharp and dramatic while improving clarity and flow. When Whoopi realized she couldn't outmaneuver Bill Maher with a direct attack, she pivoted, shifting her sights from the man himself to the very principles he stands for. Free speech, critical thinking, and the right to question authority without fear of cancellation. These were the new targets that IT was a textbook deflection. If you can't defeat someone outright, you try to undermine the foundation they stand on. Whoopi framed Maher's steadfast offense of free expression as reckless, outdated, even dangerous, a classic move straight out of the woke mob's playbook. But Maher, ever the seasoned debater, didn't take the bait. Calm yet firm, he pushed back, making it clear that the real danger isn't in questioning ideas, it's in silencing those who do. He reminded Whoopi and everyone watching that honest debate isn't a threat to progress. It's the engine that drives it. Whoopi's attempt to shift the narrative didn't just fail, it backfired. Instead of exposing Maher's flaws, it spotlighted her own. Her argument unraveled under the weight of its own contradictions, while Maher stood his ground, unshaken, unapologetic, and unafraid. Let me know if you'd like to build this into a full video script, article, or podcast segment.
But it's been a month since I gave the commencement address at Berkeley. Someone has to check in with the people who tried to have my speech canceled and make sure they made it through okay.
Absolutely. Here's a refined and impactful rewrite of your passage, preserving the metaphor, satire, and tone while improving structure and style. Bill Maher, the ever-sharp lion in the den of hyenas, stood his ground with effortless poise. Even as Whoopi and her woke entourage hurled everything but the kitchen sink in their crusade to cancel and deplatform him, Maher didn't flinch. You can bet they had email drafts locked and loaded, ready to fire off to every streaming service in a desperate attempt to shut him down. But Maher, wearing his signature smirk and armed with unshakable logic, wasn't just enduring the assault. He was thriving in it. The irony? The very people who preach tolerance and celebrate diversity of thought were doing everything they could to silence one of the few voices bold enough to challenge their rigid orthodoxy. And Maher, never one to miss an opportunity, masterfully flipped the moment. He turned their performative outrage into yet another shining example of a hypocrisy.in fact. Some fans have pointed out that Whoopi should be grateful for free speech advocates like Maher, especially considering the stream of misinformation and bizarre claims she's made since joining The View. Remember that completely fabricated story about a bakery? Yeah, defenders of open dialogue are the only reason she's still got a MIC to speak into. Let me know if you'd like to continue the piece or develop this into a full editorial or video monologue.
There seems to be a lot of talk about the dessert I requested for my birthday show. The place that made these refused to make them for me. They said that their ovens had gone down, all kinds of stuff. Perhaps they did not like my...
Absolutely. Here's a polished and witty rewrite of your passage, maintaining the humor and narrative while tightening the flow. Whoopi didn't exactly spill the tea on where the infamous cupcakes came from, but naturally, the internet sleuths were on the case. It didn't take long before they traced the desserts back to Halterman's, a beloved Staten Island bakery that's been delighting locals for over 140 years. But rather than being a sweet tribute, Whoopi used a moment to play a Jesse Smollett-style drama card, casting the bakery as part of some imagined slight. Enter Halterman's response, equal parts gracious and unintentionally hilarious. They politely explain that their equipment is, well, vintage. So vintage, in fact, that it could probably be featured in a museum. Frequent mechanical issues, they added, are just part of the bakery's quirky charm. And as for Whoopi's allegations, they had no idea she was even a customer, because, spoiler alert, their ovens don't recognize celebrity status. They break down for everyone, no matter how many daytime Emmys you've got. Let me know if you'd like to keep this tone going in the next section.
At 3 or 4 o'clock every morning, the sacrifices they've made, the holidays they've missed with their families, to make Staten Island better, they have sacrificed for 145 years. And frankly, the people who defamed the Halterman family should apologize to the Halterman family for making stuff up to suit their needs. Not everybody wakes up every day and thinks about politics. A good business person doesn't care about anybody.
Absolutely. Here's a sharp, witty, and well-paced rewrite that keeps your tone while enhancing clarity, rhythm, and punch. Once again, the internet turned its spotlight and its fury on the Sarafina star, calling Whoopi out for spinning a tale about a small, family-owned bakery. The reason? To drum up public sympathy and, perhaps, score some quick political points. Really, Whoopi, of all the targets out there, you chose a bakery, a place that's been baking cupcakes and cookies longer than most of us have been alive. The internet wasn't buying it. Social media lit up, roasting her faster than a fresh batch of pastries. Users were quick to point out the absurdity of fabricating drama around a bakery that's more beloved than some classic sitcoms. And the irony? She probably thought the move would make her look relatable, siding with a little guy. Instead, it came off like she was trying to cancel Christmas cookies. The lesson? Don't mess with bakers. They're out here needing dough, not drama. But does Whoopi ever learn? Roll the tape. Here's a clip of her awkwardly trying to connect with middle-class voters, the same voters who overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump. Let me know if you'd like to build this into a full script or article series. It's got strong Z.
People are having a hard time. Me too.
Yeah.
I work for a living. If I had all the money in the world, I would not be here. I literally just work.
Certainly. Here's a polished and compelling rewrite that keeps the irony sharp and the tone engaging. Now, here's the kicker. Whoopi Goldberg, a Hollywood heavyweight reportedly pulling in $100,000 a week, once loudly insisted that liars should be thrown in jail. Yet, there she is, spinning stories like it's an Olympic sport. Talk about irony. To add insult to injury, Whoopi has the audacity to play the struggling everywoman. Compare that to the average American's $600 weekly paycheck, and it's crystal clear who's truly out of touch. But wait, there's more. Some sources estimate Whoopi's net worth at a staggering $60 million. On top of that, she recently sealed an $8 million deal with ABC to keep dishing out opinions on The View, as effortlessly as she serves cupcakes does a classic woke mob playbook. Play the victim, twist the narrative, and hope no one notices the glaring contradictions. They are masters at convincing the masses they are just like you, all while sipping organic lattes from gold-plated mugs. Whoopi's attempt at relatability? Like a billionaire whining about yacht fuel prices, completely out of touch fans weren't having it. Many tore into Goldberg for her tone-deaf remarks. One viewer wrote, "We have spoken, Whoopi, we can't stand you. Working women don't watch you, we're at work." Another commented, "This is why Americans don't need Hollywood elites telling us who to vote for. They're clueless about the sacrifices regular people make just to get by." Others pointed out the glaring irony. One user said, $60 million net worth and an $8 million annual contract on The View? Oh, gee, I wish I could struggle financially with that kind of salary. Sweetie, you have all the money in the world. You don't have to work. You don't know what it's like to actually work. Maybe you need a reality check. Let me know if you want this expanded into a longer piece or formatted for video narration.